athletes are training long time, preparing long time, investing a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, dedicating a lot of time to their training preparation. Leaving the pacing itself on the day that, they were aiming for, they were training for several months up to chance, that's a tough one. So if you can calculate that beforehand and give very good advice on, how fast to run and how much effect, how much benefit, how much value there is from knowing your fueling strategies or, trained the fueling, there's a huge benefit to it. Stores are limited. It's not infinite. It's a very limited amount of glycogen that is stored in the muscle. It depends on the training status. It depends on what type of muscle you have. It depends on the diet. Something, you would have heard of, carbohydrate loading, high carbohydrate diet. If you eat high carbohydrate content in terms of concentration, how much energy is coming from carbohydrates, but you eat more, the black graph, then you can, the black bars, then you can increase even further. How fast you can replenish glycogen in the muscles. Red one with a high carbohydrate diet, it goes much faster compared to fasting, compared to a fat and protein diet. So one thing is, what you can read from this graph is, if you don't have a high carbohydrate diet, obviously it's very difficult to restore this glycogen stores, right? So that's takeaway message one from this graph. The other takeaway message is that, well, look at the hours of recovery. Ballpark rule of thumb, if you want to replenish or even overcompensate, right, overshoot glycogen content, you need a minimum 48 hours. So bottom line, carbohydrates, it's easily burned in terms of it is exponentially. So when you increase intensity, you will burn it, tremendous amount of carbohydrates more. It's limited refueling, right? You cannot just put more into your mouth, so to speak. It's not arriving, it's not getting transferred to the bloodstream. It's limited stores, and it takes a significant amount of time to refuel, even with the best diet. Okay, so this is why we say glycogen is a precious fuel. So from a practical application, what you're trying to do, essentially, you're trying to decrease the burn rate. Okay, so let's look at the mechanisms in the metabolism, in the muscle, how you can decrease the burn rate. Simplified speaking, there are two fuels which we are talking about here, two fuels that you can use, and biochemistry speaking, not correct, but simplified speaking, which are competing, so to speak, in your muscle. Who is providing the fuel? And those two fuels are carbohydrates, basically, and fat. You want to burn fat, you need additional energy to prepare those fatty acids, to prepare this fat until it's ready to go into the aerobic system. Why would the body spend additional energy and additional oxygen to prepare fats if there's enough fuel coming from the carbohydrates? So if there's more carbohydrates as a fuel source, if more fuel from this left red part is entering the aerobic system, then there's no need to use more fat. So what does that mean practically now if you want to spare carbohydrates? As we said, you need to be able to have higher VO2 to provide this additional energy to actually prepare the fats as a fuel for your aerobic system, and or decrease the glycolytic flux, so lower the use of glucose, right? And that means, in a practical way, you can increase your aerobic system or you can decrease your glycolytic system. Let's putting it together. And from a practical application, how do we now use that to create a fueling plan for a race? There are just a few steps which we have to take here. And the first one is knowing the available glycogen. We are actually now able to provide this value of the glycogen stores to you, which is calculating for you the available glycogen. And when I say available glycogen, It is the amount of glycogen that the athlete can use for his specific sport. It's not like when you're running and that you bonk, when you run out of energy in running, that this is because your upper body muscles are glycogen depleted. No, it's because your leg muscles are glycogen depleted. And there's no transfer from upper body to lower body. There's, this glycogen, this molecule is too big to actually pass the membrane. So available glycogen is just related to the working muscle. Second one, choose your fueling. You need to know from a practical application how much and how good you can fuel. It's different in running to cycling, and it depends on what product you're using. And then the third step, obviously, is know your combustion rate. Know how much carbohydrate your body utilizes based on your individual metabolic profile. You need to know what is your combustion rate at a certain running intensity, or in cycling it would be a power output. The first example here is most popular one, so to speak, is a marathon, right? Use a marathon, and we assume no carbohydrate intake. We assume the athlete only drinks water and some electrolytes, right? Glycogen content, again, is calculated for you automatically. Let's assume the glycogen content is 450 grams. Let's assume we want to break 320. Can this athlete who we're looking at here break 320? 320 is 3.5 meters per second. That's here. It's a carbohydrate combustion rate of 140 grams per hour. Is that possible? Well, 425 grams of glycogen stores divided by 140 grams means you're running out of energy after 3 hours. But with that speed, you have 20 minutes left. So, unfortunately, no, that is not possible. But now your fueling comes into place, right? Because now it's very easy to just include the fueling here and take this into account. So without additional carbohydrate intake, it's not possible. But let's say we add 1 gel. A gel is approximately 25 grams. Let's calculate as 25 grams, which means that we are dropping, we could do it another way around, but the more simplified ways to look at it, you're dropping 25 grams. So what you're taking out of your glycogen stores, simplified mathematics here, what you're taking out of these glycogen stores is the red number, is 150 grams, because you're saying 25 grams per hour is substituted by this gel. And then you're ending up after 3.7 hours depletion, which obviously means, yes, it's possible to do that.